Good morning, I'm Diego Fajardo, the Latin Conquistador. Today is January 12th, 2015. The song of the week is Fermi Paradox by Hank Green. These haikus don't seem to add a whole lot now. Should I switch this part? Speaking of 2015, I was gonna talk about New Year's, but I have something else on my mind, so I'm just gonna push that back another week until I'm even further away from the actual event. Instead, I'm gonna be talking about the exciting subject of math! Or maths, if you're in the UK, or Australia, or really, I think, anywhere but the US. I wonder how the Canadians feel on the subject. Excuse me, Prime Minister Harper, math or maths? It's math. Yes, I did look up the Prime Minister of Canada just to make that joke. And yes, I did just call it Canada because that's the thing that I do, apparently. Back on subject. Maths. Mathematics. So you got your odd and your even numbers, yeah? Because the number line goes on indefinitely means that there shouldn't be more evens or odds, right? Then we come to a number like 0, and there is -1 and 1, but there's not a -0 and 0. It's just 0. My thought is, there's always going to be more even numbers than there are odd numbers. Because you have your 1 and your -1, then you have your 2 and your -2, and then you have your 3 and your -3, they're going to start canceling each other out in terms of odd or even. But in between, basically starting it all off, there's always 0. Which is always even. The question that I've been mulling over is, does that mean that there are always more even numbers? Okay, let me try this whole top-down thing, see if it works. So we're going to start at 0, and this is going to be our number line. We're going to have an even count, an odd count. So starting off with 0, we already have 1 for even. Then we have 1 and -1, that's 2 for odd. 2 and -2, that's 2 for even. 3 and -3. 2 for odd, 4, -4, 2 for even, and you can start to see that even whenever there's another pair of evens, it's 1 higher, but whenever there's another pair of odds, 5 and -5, even is only down by 1, when odd is down by 2, 3, I'm bad at math. What I'm trying to say is, every time I add on another one, 6, 7, 8, -6, -7, -8, they start to cancel each other out. The 8s and the 7s cancel each other out, the 1s and the 2s cancel each other out, the odds and the evens cancel each other out, except for 1. And by except for 1, I mean except for 0, because I'm bad at words. But what if instead we're looking at different number lines rather than just the positive and negative, the all real numbers, as you say? What if we're just looking at all natural numbers? So we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on and so forth. So these even odd, even odd, even odd, even odd, so on and so forth, and they all kind of cancel out. What then if we're just looking at counting numbers? Well, that's basically the natural numbers, except you start at 1, 2, 3, this is how you count, that's why they're called the counting numbers, so on and so forth. This is basically the same as that, but you just don't have 0, and because they go on indefinitely, that one number doesn't make a difference. However, there is another number line. We were just looking at all real numbers, and all those number lines only contained real numbers. But what if we were to look at also imaginary numbers? He's imaginary. So the thing with the imaginary number I is that I is equal to the square root of -1. But -1 is an odd number, as we've been over before. -1 equals odd. It deserves sparkles. Those aren't sparkles, those are lines. And the thing with -1 being an odd number is that that should mean that I is an odd number as well. Because if you multiply an odd number by an odd number, you get an odd number. And if you multiply an even number by an even number, you get an even number. So if you multiply an odd number by an odd number, you should get an odd number. So this seems to me to be saying that I is an odd number. So that means that the question of whether or not there are more even numbers or odd numbers depends on what number line you're using. Because the imaginary number line, you have 1 plus I, 2 plus I, 1 plus I is even. That's an even sign. That's an equal sign. That's an even sign. In the same way that if you multiply 2 odd numbers, you get an odd number. If you add 2 odd numbers, you get an even number. So 1 plus I is an even number. This means that once again we have the whole thing where 1 and 1 plus I cancel each other out, 2 plus 2 plus I cancel each other out, 3 and 3 plus I cancel each other out, because it's odd and even, odd and even, odd and even, odd and even. But in both of these cases, you still just have 0 sitting there being even. This is basically what my thought process has been, in saying that it seems that all number lines have an equal number of even and odd numbers, but some are more questionable than others. These have the 0 there that kind of changes everything. I'm excellent at arrows. 0 changes things because in some cases it is literally in the middle of it all while still being even. But I still haven't convinced myself that that makes the entire number line even or more even to any degree, and I can't seem to figure a way out of it, because the concept of infinity is hard. And that's what's been on my mind, but that's not what I want to leave you with today. Making this video reminded me of my stance on educational videos. People like Hank Green and Vi Hart and even Bill Nye the Science Guy are big heroes to me, because they make education accessible to anyone of any educational level. So making educational videos has always been kind of a goal of mine, but it's not exactly something I can do, and I would say it's because of resources. Not just, oh, how much money can I spend on, say, animation or notebooks or stuff like that, but resources of the mind. I don't exactly have the education to teach anyone about anything. All of the fun things I could possibly make videos, I learned from people who made videos. But stuff that I do know and could teach that I didn't learn in videos, I just learned through high school. Anyway, this has been a long-winded way of saying thanks for watching my videos, this one in particular. Sorry it wasn't more definitive, or I guess as good as I should have made it. I would say I'll try harder next time, but I don't know if there's gonna be a next time. If there is anything you want me to try to teach you or talk about, then comments or... Anyway, this video has probably gone on for way too long, and I'm getting low battery warnings, which is how I know that it's probably gone on for too long. So, see you next week.